All right, well, let's kick this off. Welcome everybody to our session on what's new in Canva. My name is Monica Isabel Martinez. I support on the professional development side. So when your district went Canva, at our offices, we were able to provide an entire team to be able to support your district with the implementation of Canva into your classrooms and across the board, across your district. And so I'm the go-to person for professional development. I have a colleague that also supports your district on the side of the account, and then we have an entire department that supports on the technical side. So you have an entire team here at Canva supporting y'all as you use Canva. If you're on social, I would love to stay connected. You can see my accounts down there on the screen. Also, anytime we have any offerings, anything that we might do here at the Austin offices, we sometimes do face-to-face live events at the Canva offices. So if ever any of you are like, hey, that'd be cool, we want to go, I usually post those to social, so you can follow me there to see any updates of anything that's coming down the pipeline. Seeing a lot of folks in here from every mix of elementary, middle, high school. I myself was a former elementary teacher. I taught pre-K, jumped to third, and then jumped all the way to high school, which was quite a big jump there. And then I went over to university level and just really enjoyed working with adults. And so ended up spending majority of my education career as a professional development provider. So really happy to be here with you all once again. I was just mentioning earlier how I worked with your district before under different capacities, but now working with you all under the Canva umbrella. All right, in the chat, do me a favor and identify your skill level. If you're newish to Canva, that would be a 1. If you're somewhat comfortable, dabbled in a little bit, that would be a 2. If you are in the middle between beginner and expert, that's a 3. If you're rocking and rolling, that's a 4. And regardless of whether you picked a 1, 2, 3, or 4, if in addition to that, you're going to add a 5 if you've used it with students. I'm just curious to know how many of you have already used it with students as well. All right, so here we go. All right, mostly 2s and 3s in here, a sprinkling of 4s, a couple of 1s. All right, excellent. Well, whether you're a beginner or an expert, I feel like in this session, everybody's going to learn something new because there's so many new things that have rolled out. And the idea is to get you in the tool, getting to know all of the different resources. So, all right, I'm just kind of skimming through the chat here. Thanks, y'all. All right, so if you're not already logged into your Canva account, please go ahead and do so if you want to actually try some of the things out that we're going to be looking at. Now, you don't have to. You can definitely just kick back and take it all in. It's a pretty short session. But if you want to try some of this stuff out, I'm going to give you access to a workbook. That way you have it, and you can actually also play along. So this would be a good time for you to go ahead and log into your Canva account. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and give you a few additional details here to get us started. So a lot of what you're going to see today comes all the way back from the releases we did in our Droptober event. Last year in 2024 in October, we started to announce and release a lot of new features. It hasn't stopped. It's just continued ever since then. And in April of this year, we announced a lot of new things that were going to be rolled out over the course of the following months. And so on May 20th, you all received a lot of new updates. And again, they just haven't stopped. They continue to come out. And so we're going to go through a good chunk of those. Now, before I jump into the features, I did want to call out that out of our entire visual suite, we have 2 new tools. I don't know if anyone here has explored or played with any of these, but we have Canva Sheets as one of the tools. And we also have the photo editor, which is this one right here. So those are the 2 new tools that have been added to the suite. But of course, you've got all of these other tools that have been available to you for some time that also have some features that have been updated. So we're going to dabble in a little bit of those. So in addition to Sheets, you've got Canva Docs, you've got Canva Whiteboard, the presentation tool, our design tool, which is where you would go to do like flyers and posters and graphics, things like that. I already mentioned the photo editor. We've got our video tool. So really great video tool to be able to mash up videos, create your own videos, make them look professional. So if you're paying for a video tool, check out our video tool because you might be missing out on a free tool. And then we have, of course, our website tool. and you can print professionally directly from within the Canva editor. Now that goes to third party, so just a FYI, that goes outside of Canva, but that is available directly inside of Canva. Of course, you can download your designs and print on your own printers. All right, in addition to the new tools, we also expanded our template gallery. So we've been growing and growing this gallery of templates, and now we're at 150,000 education specific templates, but overall 3.6 million resources within your Canva account. What this means is that you should never have to start from scratch, whether it's that you're leveraging our templates or leveraging our AI features to create content for you, so that, again, you're not starting from scratch. And also being able to get all of your assets from within your account. You have over 100 million assets, think videos, audio clips, like maybe some sound effects or music that you want to add to your presentations. You also have graphics, animations, polls, quizzes, charts, so much content, again, built right within your account. And all of this content is curated. It's not any random person uploading. It is curated content via our partners, which include educators. All right, so amongst the templates you'll find are the Disney collection. I just wanted to do a really quick shout out to this collection here that we have, because I'm absolutely thrilled about this one. I love Disney, and they've expanded this collection. It started with the traditional Mickey, Minnie, then it went on to the princesses, and now we also have, for anyone in here who might be a fan, I don't know if anyone here is a fan of Star Wars, we now have a Star Wars collection, and here recently they launched the Marvel collection as well. So I don't know, again, if there's any Marvel fans in here, but you can find all of that in the template gallery. So there is a Disney collection. In addition, we added more contemporary pop music. So that was one thing that we heard a lot was it'd be nice if we could get more popular music. So you do now have a library of popular music that you'll get. All right, so we're going to jump into a workbook to start exploring a lot of the new features that just rolled out. So you can see the link on the screen there. It is case sensitive, so you need to type it exactly as you see it on the screen, or if you're jotting it down in your notes, please make sure you're writing Canva all caps. Everything else is lowercase. I'm dropping the link into the chat as well if you want to go ahead and join me there. When you click on that link, it might take you actually to a screen that looks like this one. Bitly's doing kind of like an ad thing now along with their Bitly link, so you might have to click on this. If it doesn't lead you there, it will for sure lead you to this page where you land on the template, where down at the bottom it's saying View Template. You're going to click on that View Template button, and that's going to pop open a window that looks like this, where you're going to say yes, you're going to log in if you're not already logged in, and then you're going to open in Editor. So that's what you can expect from that. Once you're there, you will be inside of the workbook. And let me show you where I'm hoping y'all will land here in the next couple of seconds. I'm going to give you just a few minutes here to get here. Remember, just keep that link handy. Once you make it there, you're in the right spot to be able to start playing. Again, those of you who just want to sit back and take it in, no worries to go through those steps, but please do jot down that link or click on it from the chat and save that for later if you just want to kind of watch. And those of you who want to give it a go ahead and follow me over to slide number 3. All right, I just want to get a sense for people having been able to get into it is restricted. Okay. All right. Let me try something slightly different. Give me one quick second. I'm going to give you a Canva link that goes directly to the participant workbook. You will have view rights to that workbook. And from there, you will have to make your own copy. So hang tight. Yeah, it sounds like it's just restricted. The bit.ly is restricted. So here is, for those of you having trouble, here's the link. It's going to take you directly into the presentation. It's my original workbook. What you need to do from here is go over to File, and in the drop-down menu, click on Make a Copy, and that's going to make a copy of that workbook for you. So go ahead and do that now. I'll give us another 30 seconds here to get going. All right. And once again, once you're in the workbook, make your way over to slide number 3. So join me on slide number 3. You will not be able to edit the workbook if you're only viewing mine. You have to make a copy in order to have your own version that you can edit. So again, we went to File and then make a copy. All right, saw lots of folks in there. So I think for the most part, we're all squared away there. I want to show you what you can expect from the workbook. So what you'll find, for example, on page 3, it'll show you up here at the top left what feature you're exploring. So for example, in this first example, we're going to look at background remover. You'll have the image or object over to the right-hand side for what you're going to actually do. And then down here on the left bottom, you'll see the instructions. So step 1 is to click the photo. Step 2 is to select BG Remover, and that's going to actually remove the background. So you have the steps and the object on every single page. Again, you'll see the object on the right, the tool at the top, the steps at the bottom left. So this workbook is yours for you to be able to go through it at your own pace at a later time. You can also follow along at my pace here, or you can go faster. It's totally up to you, but you now have the workbook, okay? All right. Okay, so here goes. On my screen here, I'm going to start on slide 3, but again, like I said, feel free to go at a faster pace if you would like. So I'm going to select the giraffe. That's step number 1. And what we're going to do here is remove the background. So the background remover is a magic feature. Now these rolled out some time back, but they've evolved over time. So there's extras in here that I want to showcase to you. But we're going to start with this one. So we've selected our giraffe. Now, whenever you select an object in Canva, whether it's text, an image, a video, doesn't matter. It will always put a purple bounding box around it. You can see the purple bounding box here around the image of the giraffe. And when you do that, when you select an object, you'll notice 2 menus pop up. This bubble here, and then this long, big menu up here at the top. Now, if you don't have anything selected, you're not going to see those menus. You have to select your object first. So we're selecting our photo. The 2 menus pop up. From the top menu, you're going to BG Remover. And what do you all think BG Remover stands for? As you could probably guess, BG Remover stands for Background Remover. I'm sure some of you are saying it. So we're going to click on that, and you're going to see that it's going to remove the background of the giraffe. And yes, ta-da, like it's gone. Thank you, Alexandra. Appreciate you responding to that. So now we can grab our giraffe and move it around and layer it over on top of any other object because it no longer has a background. So this allows us to be able to move and mash things up and piece together a whole new scene. Because it doesn't have a background, we can more easily layer. So that was slide 13. Now I'm going to hop around here a little bit. That's background remover, which has been around for a little bit, but for those of you who that was new, that's how you use background remover. Now let's jump to slide number 6. This is very new. This is to generate a background. So here, there's no background around our puppy. So what we're looking to do is actually add a background. So what we're going to do here is not click background remover because there's no background. Instead, we're going to click on edit. And from the Magic Studio section, that's this section here on the left-hand side, it just popped open that window for us. In the Magic Studio section, it is the second icon that says BG Generator. It's the one with the little sunglasses. When you click on that, it takes you to this dialog box where you can actually type, well, what is going to be the background for this dog, right? So we have a puppy, we've got our dog here. So we're going to say, and I've got an example down here in the slide for you that you can type, but feel free to type whatever you'd like. I'm going to type in dog flying through space. Again, you can type whatever you'd like, but once you have your prompt, you click on generate. And whenever you're using AI to generate content, it'll always give you 4 different images. So again, whether you're here or under AI generating an image, it'll always give you 4 options. It'll default to one of them, so it'll automatically assign one of the 4 for it. There you go. You can see it here on my screen. But of course, you can come over to the left-hand side and choose a different background if you prefer a different one. Once you're done and you've selected your object down here at the bottom, you can click on done. Now, if you're not happy with the result, you can still come up here underneath those pictures and revise your prompt and ask it for something slightly different. But if you're happy with it, click on the done button and we're good to go. We've now created a background for our puppy. Now, those of you rocking and rolling over there, if you're creating some cool things, please do drop images and drop things into the chat. I'd love to see what y'all are creating. All right, so that was generate background. I'm now going to come back to slide number 4. So we've now taken away a background. So we removed a background, we generated a background, but what if we don't want to get rid of our background? We like it, we don't need to create a new one. But my astronaut in this case is right smack in the middle. And what I want to do is add text to the right. But right now, there's not enough space to add it to the right. It would be scrunched up. So what I really need to do is just simply move my astronaut to the left. But there's no other picture I'm finding that I like as much as this one that would work for what I need. So what we're going to do is simply grab the astronaut, separate it from its background, and move it over. To do that, we need to select the magic grab feature. So first, we're going to start by selecting our astronaut. Again, it puts that purple bounding box around it. We're not removing background, so instead we're going to go up here to the top left and click on Edit from that top menu. And then over on the left-hand side here, I'm going to go right back to Magic Studio where we were earlier, but this time I want to find Magic Grab. Now you can't see it automatically because there's quite a few tools in here. So we do have to click this little tiny arrow to be able to get to more items, to be able to see more stuff. When you click on that, it will take you to more icons, more features. You're looking for the hot air balloon that's in the yellow icon. That's Magic Grab. We're going to click on that. And that's going to take us to this screen where I can select my astronaut, then come over to the left and click on Grab. And that is going to grab the astronaut, separate it from its background. And now I actually have two images, my astronaut, which I can move, and my actual space background. So two different backgrounds there. So you saw I just simply, after I did that, I can move the two objects however I need to move them and position them however I decide to position. So that is Magic Grab, which is really, really cool. I really, really love this feature. Now, I'm going to pause for a quick second because I did see some puppies come through. I love it, y'all. These are great. Generating some really cool stuff here. Love, love, love. So we got a puppy, it looks like in a classroom. Oh, I love this one. I want to be in the beach where that puppy is. And a puppy in the pool. Very cool, y'all. All right. So that was Magic Grab. Now, if ever I wanted to do something similar, but with text, you do actually have a feature called Grab Text that allows you to do something very similar to what we just finished doing with the astronaut, where we're going to separate the text from its background. So same steps, just a different button that you're going to click on for the feature, but all the rest of the steps are the same as what we did for the astronaut. So we're going to click on our image. So it's the chalkboard with a text that currently says no image available. So we're going to select that. I'm going to go back up to edit up at the top. Then I'm going to go to Magic Studio section once again. I'm going to click on the tiny arrow so I can see more features. And it is going to be the purple icon with a letter A. That's Grab Text. Again, doing something very similar to what we saw with the astronaut, where we have to select this section we want to edit here, which is the text. Then click on Grab on the left-hand side. It is going to separate the text from the chalkboard. Now you'll notice that the previous font was kind of like a chalk style. This is not about grabbing the font. This is about simply grabbing the text to be able to then either move the text, delete it all together, or maybe what you want to do is change what it says. So I can actually double click on this and type whatever it is that I want to now type onto this chalkboard. You can then also go up to your font and look for a font that's very similar to a chalk style or any other style that you might want to use for that font. So that was grab text. So there's a little bit of the Magic Studio features. There are lots more to explore. I'm just going to click on the button here just so you can see. So Magic Studio has all of those features that we just played with, but there are even more that we aren't necessarily going to jump into today, but there's more you can explore, like Magic Eraser. You've got Magic Edit. There's Magic Expand. So more to definitely explore there at a later time. All right, next we're going to jump over into some animation. We're going to start at the basic level and then level up. So we're starting on slide 6. So make your way over to page 6 for me. We're going to start with a basic animation by simply selecting the rocket and then animating that rocket. Okay, so we're going to select it. Again, it puts that purple bounding box around it, and it pulls up the 2 menus. From the top menu, you're going to click on animate. Now here, all we're going to do is simply select which animation you like, and that's it. It's that simple to be able to animate an object in Canva. Now you can choose to animate on enter, on exit, or on both enter and exit. You can also adjust the speed at which that actually animates and the intensity. Once you're done, you can simply click the X, and whenever you put this into presentation mode, you'll be able to see the animation. So really simple, 3 steps: select the object, click on animate, and select your animation, and you're done. So pretty basic, really simple. I'm going to now jump over. We're going to move down to get to a more advanced animation. So slide number 29. Everyone jump over to slide 29. Here, what we want to do is kind of the same idea of animating the objects, but I want to animate the whole page, and nobody wants to have to click and create that animation for each individual object. I mean, if we had all the time in the world, sure, but wouldn't it be nice if we could click one button and the entire page would animate? I'm thinking yes. I know, just reflecting back on my days in the classroom, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't have time to animate every single object. There's so many on here. Be nice if I could just do it all in one swoop. So we're going to do that. In order to animate the entire page, you do have to select the page, not an object. So we're not selecting an individual text box or this object here, or this one, and we're not clicking from outside in trying to select all of our objects. That's not what we're doing, because that doesn't select the page. What we need to do is select the entire page by clicking at the top left corner where there are no objects. So right up here at the very top left, I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice that your purple bounding box is now around the entire slide. Once you've selected the entire slide, you're going to go up to animate, and up at the top left, you will now see an option for Magic Animate to animate the entire design. We're going to click on that. And then you have all kinds of options that you can pick from, but you'll notice that your entire page is getting animated for you. So you're not having to individually select each object to animate them. Instead, it's doing the whole thing. Now, there's quite a few options in here, and this library of options continues to grow. So feel free to come back and check out the animations as you create your designs. Now, I will say this about animations. Once we start to animate, we just love it, right? Like, it's so cool, it looks professional, it looks slick. But if the animation begins to distract our learners from being able to learn, that's when we need to scale back the animation and really focus on the content and leveraging animation to help teach. It helps students learn and process information and not distract our students. But there's always times where we can definitely animate an entire page that really helps drive ideas or draws attention, right? So having said all that, we're going to move over to slide 30. In slide 30, what I'm going to show you is how to create a custom animation. So I really love this feature that they released, because now you can control the path. So what we're going to do here is have the bee go from flower to flower to flower. So here we could be talking about pollination. We could be talking about the life of bees and how they feed, or etc. Right? So there's different content that you could cover here, or that the student could create to show their understanding of how this works. So what we're going to do is select our bee. And then once again, up at the top, we're going to go to animate. So those first initial same steps. Now at the very top, you'll notice that there is a custom create an animation. It actually has a bee there as well in the little icon. That's what we're going to click on. That's going to allow us to, with our mouse, click and drag our little bee. In this case, again, from flower to flower, you can even do a little loop-de-loop and then, you know, move around the page. So you just now animated, created your own path to have the, in this case, bee move in the direction you wanted it to move. You can also affect the speed. So you can actually speed this up, slow it down. So if we wanted the bee to like zip right on through, we could do that. If we wanted to really slow it down, we could also do that. So different ways to have this interact. And you also have these effects down here. So if you wanted the bee to also pulsate as it's moving, you could do that. So definitely explore those options in there. Once you're done, down at the bottom, you click on done and you're good to go. When you put this into presentation mode, you're going to see the bee flying in its full glory. So here it is, flying across the page. All right, I'm going to go ahead and jump out. So that was a little bit of the animation. So really cool features there. There's, again, just like before, lots to certainly explore, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of flavor of what you have access to. We're now going to talk a little bit about Magic Write. Magic Write is an AI feature that's built into your account, which is also a pro feature that you have access to free of charge because you have a Canva education account. And so I'm going to start this fairly simple. If we jump back over to page 8, we have a bit of text there where we are going to apply some changes. So I'm going to give you a second here to make your way. Some of you might still be playing with the animation. I have a feeling I've lost some of you in the animation already. And by lost, I mean like you're probably staying there playing around, which is totally fine. Feel free to do that. But I'm going to move over to a little bit of Magic Write. Again, page 8 is where I'm going to start. Vanessa is still playing with generating a background. Thanks for sharing that. Look at that. She's got a cape on her dog. Very cool. All right. So for slide number 8, we're going to select our text. That's our first step. Once you select your text, you'll notice, again, two menus pop up. The top one, which we've been using previously, and then this little bubble, which we're going to use this time. In this little bubble, the first little icon is a pencil with some stars. This is your Magic Write button. This allows you to make edits to text as well as to generate text, right? So we're going to click on that Magic Write button. Again, it's in the little pop-up bubble. And you'll see that you get a lot of different options here. You can rewrite the text, you can fix spelling, you can say continue writing. Maybe you want to flesh out more copy. But in this case, in this example, we're saying, hey, let's shorten this because this is a slide and we don't want to put too much text on it. Instead, we want to shorten. So I'm going to click on shorten. And what it's going to do is it's going to rewrite that bit of text for me, but in a shorter sentence. Currently, we've got 3 sentences. They're a bit lengthy. And now it's giving me new text that is now 2 sentences that are a little bit shorter. So I'm going to click on replace to replace that content. Or at this point, I could say this, but what if I was teaching this lesson on electricity for my 3rd graders, but I found this template in Canva's template gallery, but it's meant for a higher grade level. Or maybe I found it online somewhere like a PowerPoint or a Google slide deck, and I now bring it into Canva, which you can upload PowerPoints and Google slide decks into Canva, and then open them up using Canva presentations. But this is not my presentation, and it looks like just by the vocabulary, it's meant for older students. So I could say, great, I love that you shortened this, but so I'm going to say this, but adjust to a 3rd grade reading level. And what it'll do is it not only will it rewrite the text, but it's going to adjust it so that my 3rd graders would understand it. So I'm going to let it do its thing. And now we had originally electricity is made at power plants and travels through wires to make lights, appliances, and gadgets work. Now that's actually pretty close to what would work for my third graders, but I'm going to say just replace here. And you also have another option if you're changing text for an elementary level. I wanted to point out that aside from saying adjust to a third grade reading or whatever grade reading level, you can also use the more fun option, which is going to give you definitely an elementary vibe as far as the language. So instead of saying electricity is made at power plants and travels through wires to make lights, appliances, and gadgets works, the new one says electricity starts its journey at power plants, zips through the wires, and brings out lights, appliances, and gadgets to life. It's the unsung hero of our daily routine, super clean and ultra efficient. Like, you can tell just the language that it's changed to here is definitely an elementary vibe. All right. Does it have the translate option? Yes, 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 which I'm super psyched about. We're going to look at that here in just a second, but yes, it definitely does. And oh my gosh, I can't believe we're at the half point. This is going by way too fast for me. All right, so let's look at the next one, and then we'll come back to the translate feature, I promise. All right, so slide number 9, we're going to explore Magic Write in a different way. So let's say same scenario, you've got your presentation, your lesson that you're going to be doing, and you want to be able to figure out, like, what am I going to say in these slides, especially if you found this online or in our template gallery where it's not yours and you're trying to figure out, okay, these are great, but what am I going to say? So what you can do is simply from the slide, so we're on slide number 9, down at the very bottom left, you'll notice that there are 3 buttons. There's a notes, a duration, and a timer button. We're going to click on the notes button, and that's going to pop open your notes window. Down at the very bottom, you're going to notice that you've got the Magic Write little pencil, and then it says generate notes. So we're going to click on that. And what it's going to do is it's going to actually flesh out your talking points for that particular slide. So you can see now on the left that it gave us all of this detail about, in this case, you know, it's about Magic Write in notes, right? But notice too that it gets a little cheeky, which I think is kind of cute, but it gives you it gives you communication tips. It says begin with a warm smile, which I think is kind of cute. And then down here, it says point to the location on your screen if possible. So it gives you some tips on presenting with this particular deck and what it actually is saying. Now, you can always come in here and remove those items if you didn't need them. You can also adjust anything that you need to adjust, so slightly tweak what it says. And what I love about this, especially for your older kids that can read the content on the left there, you can actually share this deck along with the notes where your students can leverage those notes as a way for them to review what that lesson covered. So let's say a student was absent, or you need to differentiate. Some students need to see and be able to get back to what you discussed during that particular slide. And so now you're providing them with those notes that go directly with this page. So great for us to use to be able to figure out what we're going to say, but can also be used as a student resource. All right, so let's see. All right, so that was that tool. What I'm going to do is come back to slide 8 to talk about the translation feature. So I'm going to select this bit of text here back on slide 8. And this time, instead of going into the Magic Write pencil, I'm going to go to my 3 little dots. And you're going to notice down here at the very bottom, it popped open a window. And at the very bottom, the last option is translate text. Now, in a presentation, you can translate just the text that you've selected, or you can tell it, no, I also want to translate other objects, or you can say translate the entire slide deck. For the purpose of what we're doing here, we're just going to do just that section of text. Now, we do need to select our language. I'm going to go ahead and open up this menu, and in the search box, start to type in Spanish. We do support over 130 different languages, so you can definitely sift through the languages to find other languages you might be supporting. But I'm going to select Spanish. And you'll notice that for select languages, it will give you the option to adjust the tone of voice if you wanted to. So if this was a little too professional, maybe I want to make it more friendly or more informative. If it was too casual, maybe I want to make it more professional, etc. So you have some options there where you can make adjustments to the tone of voice. Now, this won't pop up for every single language, but it will for the Latin languages, so like Spanish, French, etc. But you first have to select your language to see those options. Again, we're only going to translate just this one section of text, but I do want to show you up at the top. You also have a settings tab. Right now we're under the translate tab. I'm going to click on the settings tab, and that's going to show me that I can also do a couple of adjustments for when this gets translated. The top one says reduce font size to fit. If you've ever translated anything, you know very well, if I'm going to translate something in English that is maybe 2 words, it might take me 3, 4, 5 words in Spanish to say the same thing that it says in English, because it doesn't translate literally just into 2 words, right? And so when that happens, the design tends to get shifted. And so what this does for you automatically is reduce the font size for you so that it fits within the design. The second check mark is to duplicate when translating. So what this is going to do right now when we translate this is it's going to duplicate this page and give me the following page in Spanish and keep this first one in English. If you unselect that, then it won't do that, and it'll just give you a whole new deck that would be just in Spanish, or a whole new page that would just be in Spanish. We're going to leave it duplicated. When I think about supporting my students and providing them the content in Spanish in this case, I want to leave the English and Spanish next to each other because it helps the student level up. It has the Spanish version that they can use when needed, and that it's right there, but they're still on the English document, and they can always check the Spanish, which is the following page, whenever they need that support. Because otherwise, if we just give them the whole thing in Spanish, then unless I'm teaching Spanish, of course, as a class, but otherwise they tend to become more dependent on just the that resource as opposed to coming back to the English one. So I really like that it puts them next to each other. So I'm going to leave it set that way. I'm going to come back to translate, and I'm going to click the translate button down at the bottom. It is going to do its magic and translate that for me. And now what you'll notice down here at the bottom is that here's the English version, slide 8, and then slide 9, which, by the way, it's titled at the bottom with Spanish in parentheses, so you can clearly see what got translated. And remember, all we translated was this text here. We did not translate all the stuff on the left, which is why it's still in English. But here it is on the left. Notice that it does include your accent, and it does change your grammar. So like the exclamation points is the one up at the beginning of the sentence and then at the end of the sentence. So it does adjust all of those things. And it does pretty good at the translations, but I would still recommend that you ask somebody to review the content for you if you don't speak that language. You definitely always want to check the work. Okay. Any questions there on the translation? Okay, Melissa, so you first have to click on your text. And then in this small bubble that pops up, you go to the 3 little dots. It's the last option. It says translate text. So yeah, it's definitely not the pencil this time. Yeah, that's my default too. Like I always want to go to the pencil, but it's not quite the pencil. Speaking of the pencil, we're going to go right back into the pencil. I want to show you a couple of other things that you can leverage here. On slide 8, we're going to click the little pencil. And you're going to notice that there's a lot of other options we haven't actually looked at yet. I want to highlight Generate AI Voice. So if you click on that, again, we're going to the magic right button. So it's the little pencil. We're going to click on Generate AI Voice. It's the last option in that pop-up menu. It is going to open up this dialog box here on the left. And we're going to click on Lisa. It defaults to English. We're going to leave it there and click on Lisa.
Electricity starts its journey at power plants, zips through wires.
And that is now being read to me. Now I can definitely change the voice. Please note that if you do change the voice here, whether it's still in English in a different accent, or if we were to change it to, let's say Spanish, thinking that, oh, I want this to be read in Spanish, it's not going to read it in Spanish. It's going to read in English with a Spanish Latin American accent.
Electricity starts its journey at power plants. 6.
If we wanted Carlos here to read in Spanish, we're going to jump over to slide 9, select the text. Let me close this out. You do have to launch it again. Select the text. Click on Magic Write once again. Again, in that pop-up menu, it's the last option, Generate AI Voice. And now we are going to select Spanish LATAM, and now we can select Carlos, and now Carlos will read in Spanish.
La electricidad comienza su viaje en las centrales eléctricas, se desplaza por los cables.
So if you wanted to read in another language, your text needs to be in that other language. Otherwise, if you have English text, no matter what language, what voice you select, it will be reading in English. Now, the steps for doing all of that are obviously not on this slide. So if you want to go back to, later and you're like, how did we get to generate AI voice? There is an entire section in here called Video and Audio Tools. It starts on page 52. And in those slides is where you're going to find the examples and all the steps. And in fact, I'll just point it out. It's slide number 56 is the one that will take you to those video and audio features that we just looked at. All right, so I'm going to pause here just a quick second. Let me just check on y'all in the chat. How are y'all doing? I've seen some activity come through here and some examples that were shared earlier. Looks like y'all are good. I just want to check in. All right, we still have more to share. Okay, cool. All right, looks like y'all are doing great. Okay, awesome. All right, so back on the deck. So we've got more to explore. We obviously won't get through the entire thing today. There are over 120 some pages in here. I think it's actually more than that. So we're not going to get through all of them, but we're just kind of doing the highlights. You will be able to come back and take a look at some features individually at a later time. So what I want to do next, for those of you, I'm curious to know, anyone in here using Canva presentations, whether it's for your lessons or for, maybe if you're students or you're creating presentations to present content, things like that. I'm just curious to know, how are you using Canva? Are you using presentations? I want to show you. All right, so some yeses coming through. Yes. Okay, excellent. So starting on page 46, I want to show you a couple of features for when you're presenting using Canva presentations. So again, I'm going over to slide 46. Excellent. So students also using them. Okay, perfect. All right, so starting on page 46, we're going to talk about a couple of features. On 46, you'll see a little bit of info on the remote control option. We also have the ability to be able to annotate while you're in presentation mode. You can also set this up to be in offline mode so that whether you don't have, good Wi-Fi, maybe because maybe you're on teacher duty and you're somewhere else and you want to be able to still take a look at this, or maybe because it's going home to students' homes, and they're supposed to watch this presentation. Well, if they don't have reliable Wi-Fi, then you can have them set it to offline presenting mode so that they can still see the content, even though they don't have Wi-Fi or have low bandwidth at home. So we're going to take a look at those and then some shortcuts as well. So again, starting on page 46. So I'm going to go ahead and put my presentation here into presentation mode. So I'm going to click on present at the top, and in the drop down menu, I'm going to click on the purple button that says present. And this is going to take me here. Now I want to show you from the menu that pops up at the very bottom. If you don't see it, just move your mouse down to the bottom, hover over it just a little bit, and it'll pop open all of your options down here at the bottom right. In the three little dots, you can click on those and it's going to pop open this menu here that starts with the first option that says Share Remote Control. Now, this is going to give you a QR code that you can scan, and that's going to allow you to be able to control the presentation with your, in this case, I selected my phone. So I'm able to, with my phone, be able to move from page to page. So right now I'm just moving it from one page to the next with my phone. Means I'm no longer tethered to the front of the screen. Of course, if you have, a little remote for your device, it would be the same thing. But what's cool about this one is that in addition to be able to move from slide to slide, like again, like I'm doing right now, you can also, there are some little shortcuts. So let's say this was a quiz question and you're asking students to answer, and the student answers and they get it right, you might do a little bit of confetti. And you can throw confetti, again, using your remote control. Maybe we're about to see the results of a poll we did, and you do like a little drum roll, or maybe you do a mic drop because that was cool. Or maybe you want to get everybody's attention, like gather your students' attention to focus on what you're going to say next. So maybe you use the blur feature, which is going to blur what's on the screen. You address that one thing, and then you just tap it again to unblur, and you can keep moving. Now, this is me controlling here from my screen, but what if you had a guest speaker? Maybe I'm speaking to your class and you want to give me the ability to control the slide deck because I'm the one presenting, instead of having to tell you next slide, next slide, next slide. So you could, and I'm going to ask one of you to just take over here for me. Somebody here in our group, just go ahead and scan in my QR code and start to control my presentation. So this will allow you to see, so I'm no longer controlling the presentation. So I'm waiting for someone to just connect by scanning the QR code, and then you're going to be able to control the presentation and move from slide to slide and so forth. Now I can tell nobody's there we go. We've got some folks that are connecting. All right, we already have like 3 of you, so I'm going to let just one of you go ahead and change the screen there for me. There we go. And they're off. There you go. So you can see I'm not controlling the presentation. One of your colleagues in here, I don't know who it is, but somebody else here is controlling it. All right, let's go back a few slides. Whoever's controlling, go backwards. And go back again, and stop right here. Thank you so much. All right, so that was a little bit of the remote control. What I recommend for those of you who decide you want to use this, especially for kids who might have access to mobile devices in your classes, to definitely scan the QR code before your kids come in, because if they do snag it and you weren't intending to let them snag it, then you definitely want to, get that QR code ahead of time. You can always scan it at the beginning of the day, and it'll already be there. So you can just open up your phone or your tablet to then control it. All right. I do want to showcase, I'm going to jump out because I want to showcase how to enable your offline presenting mode. So I'm going to go to my home page, and from your home page, you have recent designs. You can also, of course, go to projects, and you'll see all of your designs there as well. The offline presenting mode only works on presentations. So from your home page, I'm just going over to projects. I'm going to go to my presentation. It could be any of your presentations, and you simply go to the 3 little dots, and you're going to notice that in that drop-down menu, one of your options is to enable offline presenting. Again, this only works for presentations at this time. So you can always go to any one of your presentations and enable offline to be able to then get to that design when you're not connected to the internet. Okay. All right, so once again, just for those of you who missed it, I am on my projects tab here on the left, and I simply go to the presentation I want to enable to be offline. I go to the 3 little dots and select enable offline presenting. Once it is enabled, you'll be able to tell, because it does give you, well, right now it's still trying to enable that, but it does give you an indication that it is available offline. All right, back over onto the workbook. If you are looking to simply use your keyboard to do some of those things I did earlier, like blurring the screen, throw confetti, and you don't have the mobile phone on the remote control, you can also just use your keyboard letters to do exactly the same thing that we just did, which are listed there on the screen. All right, and then I'm going to come back to being able to annotate. So I have to be in presentation mode to annotate over the slides when in full screen. So I'm just coming right back here. And hold on one sec. There we go. I'm coming right back to my presentation. I'm in presentation mode. And down at the bottom, it's the second icon on the right-hand side there. It allows me to annotate over my page. So once I select draw page, I can select my colors, my pencils, they're down here at the bottom right. And then I can just simply come over and start to like draw things, point to things, etc. I can move on, to my next slide and then, continue drawing or doing whatever it is that, I want to point to and do, etc. Now, when I escape out of my presentation, so right now I'm in full screen mode, when I click the escape button, those annotations are not there. So it doesn't leave them on your presentation. It's for annotating in the moment and to pointing things out as you're teaching that one thing. If you want to capture the annotations, then you would have to do like a screen capture, a screen record, or something like that. But it's really cool that you can annotate as you're moving through your presentation there. All right, so those were a couple of quick things. The last thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to go back into presentation mode, is going to be the timer. Let's say that you get to a slide in your lesson and you now want to allow your students to spend the next, let's say 5 minutes to doing an activity, and the instructions are on the screen here, but you want to be able to have a timer so that they can also see the timer, and you don't necessarily have to get out of presentation mode. So from the 3 little dots down at the bottom, it pops up this window. We previously looked at share remote control. The second option is show timer. It's going to pop up our little timer, which you can set to, it defaults to 5 minutes, but you can, take away time here with a minus, or you can double click and type it in. You can add more time, totally up to you. You have a very small library of music. So let's say we wanted our kids to focus on this next activity. Maybe I select the focus music. I can control the volume from here as well. And then I click play, start the music. I'm going to mute the music here really quick so I can keep talking. So now you're in full screen mode, but you also see this timer up at the top right-hand side. Now you can't currently, I can't drag it and move it somewhere else. So just be mindful that if you do decide to use the timer, that it will always sit at the top right. So be mindful of what you have in that space up there, because you wouldn't be able to see what's behind it if you have something up at the top right corner. Now, instead of doing it this route, because I certainly could, I'm just going to escape out of presentation mode. I could jump out of my presentation, and down at the bottom, again, the 3 buttons, we start with notes, duration, then timer. You could set the timer down here instead, so that the students can still see the instructions here, but the timer is out of the way completely. And I honestly use this quite often, as long as, what's on the screen here is not so crucial that it gets so small that my students can't see it. Because if that's the case, then I do need to be in full presentation view. Okay. All right, y'all. We've got a few minutes left. I'm coming back to see if there are any questions. Okay, so the feature is in remote control Magic AI. So it's what we looked at was the remote control for those features. Yes. Time. Okay, yes, 9 minutes left. What are we? 3 dots again. Yes, that's where we were. Okay, so yeah, the icon will show you so that you can confirm that you are in offline mode. Let me go back so you can see. You now have, it's really tiny, but in front of the text, it has a little check mark in a little circle. That lets you know that that is now available in offline. So I could lose connection and still be able to present from here or view the deck, all that kind of good stuff. So it is now available. And if I hover over it, it pops open a little button that says enabled. Okay, to access the timer, once again, if you're in the presentation itself, let me come back to that. Down at the bottom, you'll see notes, duration, then the timer button. That's what you click on to pop it up or close it out. All right, y'all, we are at about 5 minutes here. There is a ton more to explore. I'm going to do a couple of shout outs directly from this view here where they're just small thumbnails so I can point you to a couple of things. On slides 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. So 24 to 28 allows you to explore the photo editor. So for example, if I wanted to change the color of the jacket, just the jacket from turquoise to pink, you can do that using the photo editor features. So explore that if you're interested in that. Again, it is page 24 through 28, shows you a little bit of how to do that. More details on how to do draw and present can be found on page 34. If you're interested in being able to do a bulk create, like where you have a certificate and then you have a spreadsheet with all your student names and it auto generates a certificate per student, explore slides 36 through, I would say about 40. That gives you some features and instructions for how to do that. And if you want to generate polls and quizzes, questions for your presentations, your slides, your lessons, page 41 through 45. Tons more to explore in the workbook. You have access to the entire thing. So please feel free to, of course, at any point, go back through and go at your own pace. The other thing I wanted to point out here is that you have that short link on slide 1, meaning if you have a colleague, a teacher friend that didn't make it to the session, you're like, here's a workbook, but you don't want them to use yours because you already started editing. You want them to have their own copy. Just go to your own slide deck. You own this. On page 1, you'll see that short link. Give them that link and they'll be able to generate their own copy. It's the same thing if you decide, hey, I want my students to learn how to use these features so that when I assign them something, they'll be able to actually put to practice a lot of what they've learned. Well, you can also share this link with your students, or you can make your own copy and cobble together the version of the workbook that you might want to give to your students.